Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Can you hear me? Welcome to Circle, this bright sunny day. Anyone amazed by how it's starting to feel like fall finally? Okay, because it's been freaking me out. I actually had to pull my jackets out and everything. I'm Kelsey, for those of you that don't know, and I'm welcoming us to Circle today. So when Kim asked me to do the welcome today, it just got me thinking about how I had seen examples of welcoming recently. And I kind of was thinking a lot about my parents, and I think I'd shared this as a prayer request before, but my parents, have welcomed someone into their home that is struggling right now. And I obviously grew up to be a social worker, and I credit a lot of my love for people to my parents. And I just kind of, as an adult, got to appreciate that a little bit more. The recognizing of the love they're showing for people, even when it's hard, and even with folks that maybe aren't accepted into the circles that they're a part of. They go to a very conservative church that wouldn't value mental health, but they do, and it's been kind of amazing to watch that journey. And so when I was thinking about welcoming, that was one of the examples that I thought of. And the other one was, it's actually been 3 years since I came out to my parents, almost to the day. I think I've done the welcome a lot in October, which is ironic to be able to celebrate that anniversary. So I'm cool with that. But so you all are that example of welcome for me. I came to church and you prayed over me, and I went out and told my parents, and there's been a lot of growth since then, and it's been 3 years, which is wild to think about. Kind of amazing. But yeah, so I just say let's welcome each other with the spirit of welcoming, whether it be hospitality, acceptance of people for who they are. And we at Circle welcome everybody, and all are welcome, no matter how you come to us today, or even those folks that aren't able to join us today because they just weren't in the space to be here today. So first, let's welcome anybody. Maybe if you have someone visiting with you and you want to share their names, or maybe they want to introduce themselves. Rebecca, you can see.
Our friend Norma Whitfield from Sparta. We first met her in Raleigh, and now we've moved west. Norma Whitfield.
Awesome. Welcome. Jordan?
We have our friend Verlissa Nayat here visiting us this weekend.
From the Triangle area? Oh, yes, sorry. Verlissa Nayat here from the Triangle, visiting us. Verlissa was my roommate in grad school. Don't ask her too many stories. Sister Nancy Osmond, I think? Osborne, thank you. Thank you. Oh, welcome, Nancy. Anyone else?
I'd like to say a welcome to Daryl and Alice, who are back at the back. Welcome, Daryl and Alice. We're so glad you're here.
Daryl and Alice, welcome. What about anyone who wasn't able to join us today that you want to bring into the circle?
We've got one more person.
Oh, sorry, one more person, I apologize.
My good friend, I like to call her my sister pastor, Eileen Larimore. She's a pastor of Ecclesia. She's there. Thank you.
Welcome. Anyone else that's visiting? Okay, cool. Anyone that people want to bring into the circle that might not be able to be here tonight?
I welcome Ken back.
Yes, welcoming Ken back.
Tell Nancy we miss her.
And a missing of Nancy, which is true. Anyone Want to bring anyone to the circle that wasn't able to be here? Sorry, I can see some of you and not the others. Okay. I don't see any hands. Okay. Well, now we want to light the candles. Did someone say that? Oh, Missy's going to do it. So we light candles, 5 candles, one for Wiley Dobbs, who is incarcerated in Georgia, and one for our friends in Cuba, and Stan is there now. One for anyone who has experienced violence. One for those who have passed and their families related to the coronavirus, or still dealing with corona at this point. And anyone who's not here, and to each of you. Thank you, and welcome to Circle. And now Jody. Jody, your turn.
Pass the peace, everybody.
Pass the feed. Oh, what's the bring that in?
Grace you, Brian.
In the heavens I see your eyes. In your eyes I see the heavens. In the heavens I see your eyes. Hallelujah. And God, oh, what I see will always be enough for me. Why look for another moon or another sun? Oh God, oh, what I see will always be enough for me. Why look for another moon or another sun? In the heavens I see your eyes. In your eyes I see the heavens. In the heavens I see your eyes. Hallelujah. And God, oh, what I see will always be enough for me. Why look for another moon or another sun? Oh God, oh, what I see will always be enough for me. Why look for another moon or another sun?
Story that Jesus told about himself. Jesus told about himself. Can you all hear if I have my mask on still? No. Okay, then I'm going to be a little different. I'll create a little space. That's fine. So, this is a story Jesus told about himself one time, that he was like a good shepherd, taking care of the sheep. And Jody is going to be like Jesus being the good shepherd. And Jody, what's the name of your sheep you have right there?
Charlie.
Jody loves his sheep so much they have a name. His name is Charlie. And look at all these other sheep you've got. And these sheep are wandering around eating some grass, and they're happy because Jody's here to take care of them. And Jody, you also make sure they get plenty of water, right?
Yeah, I guess so.
All right, well, what do you do if somebody comes like a wolf? What are you going to do if a wolf comes?
Yeah, sheepskin.
You're going to call him around. Go around behind Jody. Go around, but he's going to protect you. Go around behind Jody over there.
My
There's
God.
a wolf coming.
Is that like you?
Yeah, my sheep.
Oh boy, sheep! I
My
love
my
sheep!
pizza.
Come over here. So,
Let's go,
Hey,
guys.
Jody! Can I eat your sheep?
Yes, you can.
Oh boy!
I'm ready. My pizza.
Pizza! Sheep
Happy
pizza!
Friday and cheese. A play.
Is that right?
I
Yeah.
think he was saying you could eat the sheep cheese pizza. You can't eat the sheep.
Oh man!
Okay. Yeah, I'm a pizza. I cannot.
So, what are you going to do, Mr. Wolf?
Well, I like pizza.
Do you like
Hey,
pizza?
don't
Hey,
sweet.
and sheep, they like salad.
Yes, you do.
Okay, we're going to take a little poll. Sheep, do you want pizza or salad? Pizza.
Okay,
You
great.
got a salad, or what do you want? You want cheese? All right, you want pizza? Okay, now listen, but I got a question. Didn't you see Jody do something earlier in the service? that might be important so you won't eat the sheep?
Let's see.
What did you say at the beginning? You said
Yeah, Pastor Pete.
Pass the piece of sheep. Yeah, I like that.
That's right.
Is that right?
Yeah.
close enough.
Oh, close enough.
Yeah.
We got dogs like a
Hey,
cat.
listen, Jody, do you have any wolf treats in your pocket you could give him because the wolf's hungry? Should we get you a
Treats.
pizza place?
I
Yeah.
love treats.
Yeah.
Oh,
You're welcome.
oh, Purina.
You good?
I love Purina.
Yeah.
Until we get to the pizza place.
Okay.
And then we get to share, right?
Yes.
And I can't eat your sheep.
No, cannot.
Okay. But I can have pizza.
Okay, pizza.
All right.
Well, Pat, that's it, isn't it? That's the story. So thank you, Jody,
You're
for
welcome, Pam.
being the good shepherd.
Yeah.
Can you gonna say thanks to Jody for being a good shepherd and taking care of you?
Thank you, Shepherd.
You're welcome.
What do you think? You think he's gonna be friends to the wolf or not?
If you clean those teeth, yes.
Well, if I had good dental insurance. You're not
Is there
here.
candy
See
inside
you at the pizza
I
place,
think
Jody.
we're
I
all
can
going
smell
in.
your breath from here. Is there candy inside your
That's
head?
rough being a wolf with no dental
Also, do
insurance.
something about your red eyes. You're getting on my nerves.
All right, I'm out of here. And I'll see you at the
Why do you
pizza
have
place.
candy in your
Okay.
head?
All right, well, let's have our prayer. Are you ready to say our prayer? So you can repeat after me. Dear Jesus, thanks for being our good pastor, protecting us, keeping us safe, and showing us the way to go. Amen. The end. Oh, yeah. Okay, thank you very much.
You're welcome, Pam.
Thank you, Kim and Doug and Jody and kids who helped make that story happen. That was beautiful. Each week we lift up our collective prayers in this circle because there is something powerful in naming what it is that we hold that knocks the breath clean out of us, as well as what we hold that sends our hearts soaring with great delight. The wide range of experiences, these are a part of our everyday lives, nearly every single day that we are living and breathing. There are times that we think we have everything under control and figured out, and feel like, at least for a moment, we're sailing on smooth waters. Until an encounter with a family member or friend, a coworker, or a stranger reminds us that we have very little control. There are times when we find calm and tender assurances in the midst of chaos, when situations are feeling so overwhelming that we are not even sure how to take the one next even half a step forward. Some days this pendulum swings so wildly that it can be hard to tell if we will ever be able to find our bearings again. Some days we simply don't know what to do, period. As we share our joys and sorrows we carry each week, Thomas Merton reminds us of something important that happens when we simply recognize the possibilities and challenges before us. Merton says, you do not need to know precisely what is happening or exactly where it is all going. What you need to recognize is the possibilities and challenges offered by this present moment, and to embrace them with courage and faith and hope. So I invite you to share the prayers that this community can hold with you this week, in this present moment, as we all seek to embrace the possibilities and challenges before us with courage, faith, and hope. So if you'll stand as you're able and share the prayers that you would like for us to hold with you this week, and I'll repeat those so that everyone will be able to hear, as long as I can hear too. Not all of you have been on our midweek prayers each week, so I would like to ask the congregation for prayers, as I have a procedure week after next to remove a spot on my larynx, hoping that it will relieve a lot of pain that I'm having pretty much daily. So prayers for that. That will happen on the 27th. I'm going to invite you to put both feet on the ground if that's comfortable for you. And take just a couple of good deep breaths. See if you can get those breaths to just reach through the tips of your toes, from the top of your head to the tip of your toes. Keep breathing in that way as I offer this prayer. Holy One, help us to be still and know that you are God. Help us to be still and know. Help us to be still. Help us to be. Help us. Amen.
Let me rise up like a bird joyfully, and when I fall, let me fall down like a leaf without regret, and when I rise up like a bird joyfully, and when I fall, let me fall down like a leaf without regret, and when I let me rise up like a bird joyfully, and when I fall, let me fall down like a leaf without regret, and when I let me rise up like a bird joyfully, and when I fall, let me fall down like a leaf without regret.
From the Message, Mark 10:35 through 45. James and John, Zebedee's sons, came up to him. Teacher, we have something we want you to do for us. What is it? I'll see what I can do. Arrange it, they said, so that we will be awarded the highest place of honor in your glory. One of us on your right, the other on your left. Jesus said, you have no idea what you're asking. Are you capable of drinking the cup I drink, or being baptized in the baptism I'm about to be plunged into? Sure, they said. Why not? Jesus said, come to think of it, you will drink the cup I drink and be baptized in my baptism. But as to awarding places of honor, that's not my business. There are other arrangements for that. When the other 10 heard of this conversation, they lost their tempers with James and John. Jesus got them together to settle things down. You've observed how godless rulers throw their weight around, he said. And when people get a little power, it quickly goes to their heads. It's not going to be like that with you. Whoever wants to be great must become a servant. Who wants to be first among you must be your slave. That is what the Son of Man has done. He came to serve, not to be served, and then to give away all his life in exchange for many who are held hostage. The Word of God for the people of God.
Good evening. Thank you for enduring the cold. Missy preached a few weeks ago on manna in the wilderness. And when she began her sermon, she said, you know, I just preached this text a few weeks ago. And now the same thing has happened to me. Because Mark 10 is almost the exact same text or story as what I preached a few weeks ago in Mark chapter 9. So we were talking about, well, maybe we didn't quite get it right the first time, and we have to figure out something better this time. Or maybe it's just that maybe we're ready to hear something new or dig a little deeper. And so it reminded me of when Stan and I were in Stoneville. We co-pastored and we switched Sundays. And so, midweek we'd plan the next service and look back at the other one, and we'd say, well, I really like what you preached about, saying this, that, and the other thing. Oh yeah, that was good, wasn't it? And then, but sometimes we couldn't remember exactly what we preached about, and we'd help each other out. And then sometimes we couldn't remember which one of us had done the preaching. And so then we got to thinking maybe we should, Tyrone, we should pay attention. Yeah. So I'm trying to pay attention to this text, and I thought, well, I better read a little bit more. So I read one of Stan's favorites, Ched Myers. And I started reading this commentary on Mark, and I got it like one paragraph, and I said to myself, I am in trouble. And I think I'm in trouble because Ched Myers starts to uncover that Jesus is about upheaval, and it started to make me nervous. But I couldn't quit reading. It was kind of like that, I was captivated by it. So what he does with this text is he links it to the chapter 9 text where Jesus says about the same thing, and the chapter 8 text that Missy preached with Jesus and Peter. So there's 3 times Jesus declares, this is what I'm doing. I'm going to be handed over by the chief priests. They're going to condemn me. They're going to hand me over to the Gentiles. They're going to torture me. I'm going to be killed. And the third day, I'm going to be raised again. And Peter doesn't like it. Jesus says, you're Satan, get behind me, you're in the way. Okay, chapter 9. Jesus says the same thing. I'm going to be turned over to the chief priests. They're going to condemn me to death. They're going to hand me to the Gentiles. I'm going to suffer. I'm going to die. But on the third day, I'm going to be raised again, right? The disciples aren't quite getting it, because then they start arguing with each other about who's the greatest. And that's when, this is the one I did, Jesus brings the child into the group. Ched Myers says he brings a child in not because, they're innocent, they show us, our simple nature, being open-hearted and generous, wanting to share and all that. I mean, that's all true, but Ched Myers says he uses a child because a child is a victim in that society. A child represents an oppressed group of people. So if we want to be great, we have to ally ourselves with children, with victims, with people who are oppressed. And then we come to chapter 10, which Lewis just read for us. And right before that, verse 35, are the 3 verses that are the exact repetition of what Jesus says in chapter 8 to the disciples, in chapter 9 to the disciples, and chapter 10. He says, I'm going to be convicted, I'm going to be handed over to the chief priests, I'm going to be condemned and handed over to the Gentiles, I'm going to be beaten, I'm going to be crucified, but on the third day, I'm going to be raised. And the disciples, what do? James and John go to Jesus and say, hey, we want to be on your right hand and your left hand. We want cabinet post number 1 and cabinet post number 2 in the new Messianic regime. They weren't paying attention to what Jesus was saying. And the other disciples, they're hearing what's going on, and they get mad, not because James and John are asking the wrong question. They get mad because they did not ask the question themselves first. They wanted cabinet position number 1 and cabinet position number 2. So Jesus, He's a little tired of trying to explain things. He's a little weary. He's a little exasperated. Maybe it's like parents who have teenage kids and say, how many times do I have to tell you you can't use the phone till you get your homework done? Or adolescents say to their parents, how many times do I have to tell you I just need to talk to my friend for 5 minutes? I need to talk to somebody who understands, who really listens to me. Repetition. It happens. And Ched Meyer says that maybe Jesus has a little note of sarcasm in these verses when he says, the so-called rulers of this universe, they like to lord it over. They like to push people around. But certainly it's not happening among you, is it? And maybe he would say that to me and to us and who we are and what we have in our culture. It's certainly not happening among you, is it? That's why I didn't want to keep reading, but I had to keep reading Ched Myers. And sometimes what it is I have to keep reading Jesus. But maybe I don't always want to see what he really says. I realized kind of how far away I was from understanding, and it made me have a little bit of compassion for the disciples when Stan and I were talking to a pastor friend of ours about going to Cuba, and we wanted to live there, and we were very excited. And he'd been to Cuba with us, and he was excited and asking all these questions about what it was going to be like. And then he asked us, well, so have you sold your house? And I said, no, we haven't sold our house. And I'm still trying to figure out that question. And so I think of the text right before this with Jesus and the rich young ruler, where Jesus looks on him and loves him. He has compassion. And I'm saying, Jesus, I need some help figuring that question out. I need some help figuring out this upheaval I'm feeling going on. And I'm grateful that we're a circle of mercy, and that when we follow Jesus, we try to touch into that compassion that can get us unstuck so that we can move ahead into something beyond possible. Another time this year that I've kind of gotten a little bit of upheaval, well, actually more than a little bit, was when I signed up for Nancy and Mahan's class on white privilege. I would have signed up for the class no matter what they were teaching. I didn't really read what that was. I just signed up. And then I found myself, like reading Ched Myers, I'm in trouble. I don't really like this class. I don't like what I'm learning. And I began to feel kind of like I needed to get a shower. I just felt kind of contaminated. And I felt like there's this phrase, we need to be healed of the sickness of accumulation and the addiction to privilege. And I thought for my Lord of the Rings friends, I thought about Frodo, and he's got this ring of power, and it's the ring of the enemy, and it's got to be destroyed. And the first step, just a little tiny thing, he's got to throw it into his fireplace so the elvish writing can be revealed, so they know exactly what they're dealing with. And Frodo's like, yeah, I can do that, and he's got the ring in his hand, and it never gets to the fire. It goes back into his pocket. So that's like me with my privilege. I just want to keep it a couple more days in my pocket. I'll be thinking about it. So anyway, Jesus is calling all of us to get it out of our pocket and throw it in the fire. He's calling us to upheaval and to let it go. These two words that are in the reading that Lewis read, if you want to be great, you got to be a servant. That's the word for deacon. If you want to be great, you have to be a slave to all. That's the word that's used sometimes for people on the path to martyrdom. So it's the whole deal. Jesus is telling them 3 times, probably a lot more, what's coming up. And he knows there's not a lot of time. So he's trying to get them to get it. And he's still trying to get us to get it. And so there's a quote that Myers had from Gandhi. He says, The way of nonviolence shall be proved by persons living it in their lives with utter disregard of the consequences to themselves. So I started thinking about Mark's book, about the Tao Te Ching, and I was looking at it, and there's this, I love the way he combines quotes of other literature in the book, and I read this, and it made me laugh, and I'm so glad it did, because it made me think there's hope if I can laugh. That's what Mahan told me. If I can laugh at something, even if it's hard, maybe that means I'm not quite completely controlled by it. It says, it's a C.S. Lewis quote, "Humility is not thinking less of yourself, it's thinking of yourself less." Humility is not thinking less of yourself, because I'm convinced that Jesus is not calling us to beat ourselves up and judge ourselves and criticize ourselves. I've done enough of that, haven't you? It's thinking of yourself less so you can think of God's possibilities more. So anyway, this text is working on me. Here's some other things I've read in that book. That Myers uses the phrase, we have to enter the political apprenticeship of the cross. It's a practice. It's something that doesn't come easy, that we have to try, we have to learn, we have to make mistakes. And that's why we do it in a community, because I can't do that by myself. I mean, I got to have you coming each week. And if I'm in Cuba, I got to have you lighting that candle for us. And I can't tell you how many times at 4:45, 5 o'clock, I'd be down there and I'd be thinking, they're lighting that candle. I can go another week. So anyway, we have to find a way to keep each other honest. But sometimes we still get bound up. And in moments of panic, when the wolf comes, we go back to what we know, which is what James and John are doing. They don't understand what Jesus is saying, so they know about the right hand and the left hand. They know about cabinet post number 1 and number 2 in their government. And so that's where they go. It's like Peter in the garden. They come to arrest Jesus. Peter should know, he's been told 3 times what's going to happen. But he doesn't. He doesn't remember. He gets out the sword, which is pretty much saying, I'm willing to die, but the only way I know to use power is to try to kill somebody else. And Gandhi says, bravery is seen in dying, not in killing. You take up a cross, you put down the sword. Or you put down the sword so you can take up the cross. This is another Myers statement. The politics of the powers will not be broken until the discipleship community makes a fundamental break with power politics. So that's what I'm thinking I need help with y'all to figure out with me. What kind of upheaval and break can we make with the power politics? Jesus is showing us the way. He's showing us how to turn us all over and upside down. And our faith is therefore not confession, but imitation. I mean, it's not just confession, it's imitation. It's something we got to follow, something we got to try, we got to practice, and we got to do. And when we don't know, that's when we turn to one another. And then we turn to listening to God with a thought of, it's like what you were saying, sometimes we come in these places, I have no idea what to do. I don't know what to pray for. It reminds me of this theater technique that Doug uses. It's called rounds. He'll give us a topic, and we just go take turns, and we get up and we try something. We do a movement, a gesture, a phrase. We might use another person. And we start, and we all do the traditional things of whatever it might be. And we keep going around and around and around until we get to this pause. And like nobody wants to get up because nobody can think of anything because all the regular ideas have been done already. And then Doug says, that's when you start to be creative. That's when your imagination really takes charge. It's when there's nothing else that you can think of that you already control, you already know. We have to go beyond that. So we have to go through what Jesus went through, all those things before we get to the resurrection. It reminds me of the last verse of Christ, the Lord is risen today. Death in vain forbids him rise. Ours the cross, the grave, the skies. We can't get to the skies without going to the cross and the grave. We can't get to the resurrection unless we go through the betrayal and the denial and the arrest and the beating and the crucifixion and the resurrection. We can't get to the resurrection unless Jesus is dead in the tomb and buried. What do we have to die to? What do we have to put in the tomb and bury? But whatever it is, there's resurrection on the other side. There really is. I'm going to end with it's a little bit of an embarrassing story about pots and pans. I saw Suzanne yesterday and I didn't plan to tell her, but I said, I'm going to tell this story about pots and pans tomorrow. And as I said it, I realized I don't want to tell this story, but I'm telling her, so I'll be accountable to tell it tomorrow. So I just found out that my niece, one of my nieces, she's a young woman, she's got a partner and a baby who's about 15 months old. She didn't have any pots and pans for a while. Now she has one. And I thought, well, I should give her some. And I thought about that passage where John the Baptist is preparing the way for Jesus coming. And he's telling everybody all this stuff to do. And one of the things he says was, if you have 2 coats, give to somebody who doesn't have one. So I thought, well, I got more than 2 pans. I should just give her some of my pots and pans. And then, just, our minds are devious. And so I thought to myself, well, maybe I should wait till Stan gets back from Cuba so I won't give away his favorite pot. And then I thought, well, maybe I should wait till Stan gets back so I can think about which pot is my favorite and which one I want to keep. And then I thought, that's awful! I was like, and I thought, she has 1 pot. I should give her the best ones I have. I mean, doesn't she deserve the best ones of what I've got instead of, I don't use that one anyway, I don't like it too much. And so I just said, then I heard this voice, just get some pots and pans and put them in a box and put the box in the car. And even if you don't go today, just get it out of the drawer into the car. So I did. and then I went, gave it to him, gave her the pots and pans, and we had a laugh about it. And that was really good. And then when I got home, the next time I opened the drawer to get out a pot, I thought, this drawer really opens easily now. And the handles don't get in the way when I close it anymore. It's like, that's what Jesus is calling us to do. Clean out the mess, the stuff we don't need to hold on to. And so that's my story about pots and pans. And so I have a little homework for you. I want you to imagine 2 or 3 things a circle can do to be in this upheaval with each other as a circle. And then talk to somebody about it. And then bring another idea. And if you don't have any ideas, terrific. Just ask God to give you some imagination. And maybe Doug can lead us in a game of rounds one time if we really need some help. But take this as an invitation, and you can ask me what my 2 or 3 ideas are next week. I'll do the homework too. But anyway, remember, you have a Redeemer, a Savior who loved you so much that he was willing to be handed over, to be beaten and to be killed so he could rise again. So you could rise again, so I could rise again to something new beyond what we even think is possible. Amen.
Lo, I am with you to the end of the world. Lo, I am with you to the end of the world. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you to the end of the world. Lo, I am with you in the breaking of bread. Lo, I am with you in the breaking of bread. Lo, I am with you. with you. Lo, I am with you in the breaking of bread. Lo, I am with you when you drink of this cup. Lo, I am with you when you drink of this cup. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you when you drink of this cup. Lo, I am with you in the changes of life. Lo, I am with you in the changes of life. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you in the changes of life. Lo, I am with you when your heart sings for joy. Lo, I am with you when your heart sings for joy. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you when your heart sings for joy. Lo, I am with you to the end of the world. Lo, I am with you to the end of the world. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you. Lo, I am with you to the end of the world.
Welcome to the table of the great upheaval, of the great unraveling. Welcome back. Come on in. And if you, after you celebrate your communion, you're also invited to come up and sign a card for Kirsten. Welcome to the table of the great upheaval in our own personal lives and in the lives of the circle and the lives of all around us. I still remember a sermon Nancy began by saying, "We're not in control." And this is a table we do not control, but this is a table that gives us life in the midst of the great upheaval. And it's also a table of great compassion, because Jesus looks at all of us with compassion. Because on the night he was betrayed, and he was handed over, and he was beaten, and then crucified, and then resurrection, and then he was resurrected. That night that it all started, he took bread and he broke it, and he said, "This is me. Take it inside you. Let it strengthen you and nourish you and give you life." He also took the cup that he did not want to drink, and he gave it to them also, and he said, "This is me. Take it inside you. Let it strengthen you. Let it give you courage for your path, and it will bring you life and joy." These are the gifts for you, the beloved sons and daughters of God. Take and eat, take and drink. Amen.
us home by some good pleasure, safely to arrive at home. Let us hope by some good pleasure, safely to arrive at home.
Go in peace, go in kindness, go in love, and go in faith. Leave the day behind us. Day is done. Go in grace. Let us go into the upheaval, even if it's dark, not afraid because we are not alone. Let us know by God's grace that gives us great pleasure that we will arrive at home. Amen.
Amen. Go in peace.